Our guest tonight is a successful businessman who understands what it takes to market to a modern audience. Todd Ganser has worked as an IT person for over 20 years, successfully navigating the tremendous growth of the digital world over this time. But Todd is also a philatelist. He collects Straits settlements and modern Singapore, but most importantly, squirrels. And he could tell you about that. Todd is the president of the Greater Boston Philatelic Society and was recently named the IT director for Boston 2026. I saw a post on LinkedIn about Todd giving a talk at StampX 2023 in London about modernizing stamp clubs and societies. So I contacted him and asked him to share his ideas with all of us tonight. I look forward to hearing what he has to say. So Todd, take it away.
Thank you. I'm Todd. I am very happy to be speaking to the ATA. The ATA has a very special place in my heart. Seeing my first even attempt at a stamp collection was topical. But I'll get into that a little bit later. So I'm very happy to be here. So updating or building a stamp club. It's changed. I started collecting 2 years before COVID, so not too long ago. One of the first things I did when I really started looking at getting stamps was realizing that I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So I started looking for help. I went looking for a club in my local area. I hopped on the internet and I started searching for stamp clubs in Boston, and I found nothing. There was nothing out there on the internet. Nobody had a web page. Nobody was on social media. Nobody had Facebook up and running. There was just no one to reach out to. Somebody tipped me off to the APS, which I didn't even know existed. I found that there were a few clubs in the area. I reached out to 3 of the clubs that were closest to my particular area and heard back from exactly none of them. I was reaching out by email. I later found out that the email addresses I had were for people who were no longer with us, but they had never actually changed the address up on APS, so they were kind of going off into the ether. I finally managed to get in touch with somebody at the Boston Philatelic Society. The Boston Philatelic Society was inactive at the time. They had 1 member. I spent 2 years working with that person, getting meetings set up, finding us a place to meet, getting people interested in being officers. I put us up on the internet, got social media running, did everything I could to try to build the club up. And the members who were inactive decided that they would rather fold the club than have a club that had an internet component to it. So I took the members who had joined me on that little journey, and we created the Greater Boston Philatelic Society, which is up and running now in the Boston area. We're still a small club. We have around 25 members, which is pretty small, but we're out there. We've got a presence on social media. We've got a presence on Facebook. I have many more members in our Facebook group than I actually have members in the club, which is interesting. But that's kind of the backstory to this whole thing. That's how I got started in it. When I decided that I was going to start a new club, one of the things I was kind of insistent on with the members was that we were going to do things differently. We wanted to democratize philately. For a long time, local philatelic clubs were kind of closed off, at least in the New England area. I can't speak for everywhere, but you had to be voted in by somebody who knew you. You had to do all of these things to get in, plus pay your membership dues. And, my feeling and the feeling of most people my age and younger is that if I'm paying for the privilege of joining, I don't need somebody to speak for me to get into the club. So the first thing that we did is we decided that we were not going to be voting members in. If you wanted to join and you wanted to pay the membership fees, you were a member. If you wanted to just come to a meeting without being a member, that was okay too. We wanted to make it more welcoming. I'm sure everyone here has had experiences with walking into a club and not feeling like they wanted you there for whatever reason. I know that happened, again, I'm speaking mostly of New England, but that happened out here a lot, especially in the beginning when my only collection was topical, and nobody thought that was a serious collection, so they weren't all that interested. I know that this crowd will probably not love that statement, but that's what I was met with. I was collecting squirrels, topical squirrels. Yeah, no, nobody wanted to really take that seriously. I think that we need to meet people where they are. If they want to collect stamps because they're pretty pictures, then great, come on in. You know, whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you want to collect. It doesn't matter how you want to collect it. If you're interested in the hobby, then you should be able to find a place at the table. I have been very fortunate that the group that has joined me at Greater Boston is very open to everything. They want to hear about whatever anybody is collecting. So it's been really nice. The other thing I think we needed to do was drive diversity in collecting. It's not a very diverse field in, again, New England, and that needs to change. We're missing out on a lot of perspective. We're missing out on a lot of other experiences that we could bring more fulfillment to the table and bring more information and all these different points of view. So we need to make sure that anybody who wants to join can join. If you're starting out a club in the US, you have to have 3 officers: a president, a treasurer, and a secretary. Technically, that can all be the same person. You're not supposed to do it that way, but if you want an APS charter, you have to have 3 officers. We officially have 3 officers. I'm 2 of them, unfortunately, right now, because my secretary has been unavailable. But start off with as simple a concept as you can manage. You know, if you have enough people that you need a youth director, great. But you know, there's no reason to overcomplicate things. Keep it simple. Make it about the stamps. Make it about actually getting people together and talking about these things, not about the politics behind it. It's one of the things that kind of drove me nuts with my first couple of meetings I went to with one of the clubs out here. It was very buttoned up and very kind of official, and there was very little time for people to actually have a conversation. There are a couple different kinds of clubs, and I've learned this since I started doing this, but there's the social stamp club, which is what I run, but there's also purpose-built clubs. I belong to the Malay Study Group. That's actually specifically about an area, and it's more official. They publish documents, they publish books. That's a whole different animal. They've also got, you know, close to 1,000 members, so they run things pretty much the way they want. Keep it simple. Use APS or APBS templates to get started. Don't add anything you don't need. I went looking for the bylaws for the Boston Philatelic Society before this. I put them away and I couldn't find it, but it was a 5-page booklet of bylaws. I can't think of any reasonable time that you would need 5 pages of bylaws to run a club. It's just a lot. You know, you spend more time trying to update the bylaws than you do actually talking about what people are collecting. We meet once a month, and we meet virtually and in person, and we have a presentation pretty much every month. But the bulk of the meeting is actually spent with people just talking about what's new in their world as far as collecting goes, what they've found, what they're looking for, you know, what they want to find. And this is, you know, that I personally, for me, that's the whole key. It's finding people who love what you love and being able to share this with them. Dues. I'm mixed on dues. Practically, you have to start collecting as soon as possible because you're going to need money. If you want to have a website, and you want to have technology at your meetings, you're gonna need to have some funding behind you. I would love to be able to run a club without having dues, because I think dues can be exclusionary sometimes, because there are people who can't afford them. We keep ours very reasonable for a year, but there are some people who still can't pay it. And I would love to still have those people join us. Right now, we still are. We do have people who can't pay the dues who are members, and we kind of cover them. As long as we can pay for our Zoom yearly, we're pretty good. I was fortunate. The place we meet is free, so I didn't have to worry about that. And because of my business, my job, I have the technology we need to run the shop. You could also do a pass the hat, and just when you have expenses come up, just ask people for a little bit of extra money at a meeting. This was the big one for me. You got to register everywhere you can. Register with the APS, register with the British Philatelic Societies, attend and participate in any stamp show that'll have you, and leave contact cards. We've actually gotten several members by dropping contact cards off at stamp shows. But the big one, and did I skip a slide? Hold on a second. There we go. Hybrid. I'm going to do this in a different order because I did this differently when I was in person. Get a social media presence. This, I think, in 2024, 2025 is going to be critical. Most people, when they're looking for information on a topic, the first thing they do is they hit the internet. They ask Mr. Google what's going on, and then they start hitting YouTube and Facebook and Twitter or X or whatever it's called, and Instagram and TikTok. If you can't be found in these locations, then for a lot of younger people, you don't exist. A lot of people will say that, well, the ATA has a membership or has a club list. The APS has a club list. The British Philatelic Society has a club list. Well, that's great. But if you're just starting, if you just picked up your first stamp and thought it was cool, you don't even know those places exist. So you've got to get out in front of people where they can find you. For your webpage, keep it simple, clean, and current. There's nothing more frustrating for people than to go to a website, find a link to somebody's email, send off an email going, hey, I'd love to meet with you guys, and having it bounce back because that person's no longer there. It's not hard anymore. There are plenty of templates and services you can use to stand up a website quickly and cheaply. So it's really very important. Post your philatelic presentations on YouTube or TikTok if you want to go short form. It'll get the word out there. It'll drive more interest. People will look at that and say, oh, hey, that's cool. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have seen Graham's Exploring Stamps YouTube page. That was one of the things that actually got me to do more than just buy a couple of stamps. When I bought my first squirrel stamp, I thought it was cool, and I was wondering if there were any others. And I found him on YouTube, and that just sent me down the rabbit hole. Then I had I watched his entire catalog up to that date, and then kind of went from there. But there's other sites out there that are doing the same thing. There's a lot of people out there who are doing a lot of great content. If any of you are on TikTok, there's a gentleman called Levin, Levin, who is a collector in Wyoming who collects stamps, philatelic material, plus a bunch of other stuff. And he does these short form video TikToks on various things from his collection really frequently. And he is probably got 5,000 followers on TikTok right now, which if you look at any of the philatelic TikToks, that's huge. I mean, that's like far and above anything anybody else has got. I fluctuate around 800 with ours, and I thought I was doing pretty good, and he's just completely, blown that away. But there's content out there, and there's things you can do to bring your clubs more attention. The simplest is probably setting up an Instagram page or an Instagram account. Take pictures at your meetings, post the pictures, talk about the meetings, post the meeting date, put a contact out there so somebody can reach out to you for more information. But people will look at that, and if they're in your area, they're up on Instagram going philately, Texas, and they'll find that, and then they'll be able to find you. Uh, Twitter, same thing. Facebook page for your club, it can be awesome. There can be a lot of conversation. It really depends on your population and the type of people you're attracting, but it can be really good. We get a lot of people on ours, which is surprising. But I built up the Greater Boston Philatelic social media doing one thing and one thing only. I took pictures of stamps and I put them on the internet. That's all I did. I took a picture of a squirrel stamp and I posted it. And I took a picture of a squirrel stamp and I posted it. And the first time I went to StampX, I had somebody walk up to me and go, "Hey, you're the squirrel guy, right?" Like, yeah, that's me. I'm the squirrel guy. But it's it's not hard. If you have a smartphone, you have everything you need to do it. And there's help out there. You can feel free to reach out to me for help at pretty much any time. I'm happy to chip in my 2 cents every once in a while. Meetings now, I think it's critical that they be hybrid. I think you need to have a remote component to your local club meetings whenever possible. A professional Zoom account is great. It'll give you more options in the free version. It also gives you more time. You get a longer meeting that way. Get a decent webcam and speakers. These do not have to be expensive. In fact, they can be really inexpensive. You can do a webcam and a conference speaker that'll plug into a laptop for about $100 for the two of them. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. And I know a lot of clubs do have the budget to do it. If you're not doing it already, encourage your members to do their presentations through PowerPoint as opposed to handing the stamps around the table. That does two things for you. One, it lets the people who are remote actually see what the presentation is about instead of having somebody doing this and trying to show the stamp at the camera. It also allows you to record that segment of your meeting and post it later, which will let your members go up and see it if they couldn't attend, but it'll also let other people go up and look and say, "Oh, hey, this club is active. They're doing stuff. I want to go see them. I want to go join." So it actually brings people in. There's a ton out there right now. These are just a few of the things that I started with: Exploring Stamps, Punk Philatelist, who actually has a bunch of stuff going on, Digital Philatelist, who is out there in Australia, the Northeast Federation of Stamps, the APS, the American Philatelic Society, the ATA. I mean, there's tons of things out there online. This is a tiny, tiny, tiny representation of the things out there. I forgot to put the Royal up. The Royal Philatelic Society in London is doing all their meetings now through Zoom, in person and in Zoom, and they're trying to get in on social media, so they're working on it. But there's a lot of things you can do. I think the big takeaways really are you've got to do more than just have your name at the APS these days. It's very hard when you're first starting out because you don't know that any of these places exist. You don't know of the American Topical Association. You don't know about the American Philatelic Association. You don't know about the Association of British Philatelic Societies. All you know is you've got an interest. So you start looking for things in the public domain. We spend a lot of time in philately talking to ourselves. We don't spend enough time talking to everybody else. And I think we need to do more of that. I think we need to make what we're doing more available to the world to see. You don't have to tape your whole meeting. Actually, I would recommend you do not record your entire club meeting. Just record the presentation and record some of the conversation that happens after it. Post that. Let people see it. Let people see that there's not only people who are talking about this stuff, but there's engagement. It's not just talking into a vacuum. But that's it. That's what I've got for a presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Todd. I saw that you had a slide. One thing that caught my eye was one of them about where you said nobody wants to go into a church basement where they don't know anybody.
Yeah,
There.
right there.
I thought that was really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I did skip that slide, and thank you for calling me out on that. That this is about the hybrid beatings. There's a couple of things that I think are important here. One is that, yeah, a lot of young collectors are not going to go to a church basement. They're going to open that door, they're going to take a look inside and go, no, and they're going to be right back out. But they'll hop on a Zoom call, turn off their camera, listen, and then when they get to know people, they'll come in person. The bigger one for me, and this is one of the reasons why I help with some of the members in my area, we've got older members who aren't comfortable traveling anymore. They don't want to go drive at night. They don't want to drive in bad weather. Maybe your meeting location has too many stairs. They're just not comfortable coming out anymore. But they've got so much knowledge that we need to not lose. We need to be able to allow them to teach us what they know, because they're the ones who've got the years of doing this, and we can't lose that knowledge.
Yes. That's very, very important. Very important.
Stop
I
sharing.
have a comment. Squirrels on stamps rock. I collect those too from
Oh, really?
Michelle
Who's that?
Brezzo. So
I have to tell you, Todd, that I wasn't collecting them for me. I was collecting them for someone else. But they were so cool, I kept them. Okay.
Oh man, I got hooked. I mean, I used to collect other squirrel things. Very long story how the squirrel thing came about, but my friends started buying me squirrels, little squirrels, stuffed squirrels, glass squirrels, stuffed squirrels. And I was trolling around on eBay one day for my latest squirrel acquisition, and I found a squirrel stamp from Tonatuva.
Stamp collector.
And I was like, that's really cool. And it was like $2, and I bought it. Yeah, well, I've now got a book of them. It's kind of gotten out of hand, but and I've still got more to go. They keep coming out with one. Germany just came out with one. I think it was this year.
well,
So
and get your checklist so you know what.
I've got my checklist, and now I have to go through my checklist and my collection and make them make sense.
While we're talking, and I know Jennifer's going to pull other questions, I want to capitalize on your thoughts about social media. We're having a debate in my club right now about whether or not to keep our Facebook page. We can't find somebody to be an administrator for it. No, almost nobody's using it, right? I recognize that social media is powerful. I'm a retired professor of communication, so it's all about communicating for me.
Yep.
I'm an officer in a variety of clubs, including vice president of my own club, vice president of another local organization. I'm on the board here at ATA, and blah, blah, blah. So I can't be that person to make it happen. And I imagine other clubs, saw someone mention that they have a lot of octogenarians in their club. These are people that aren't as comfortable on social media, or some are not comfortable at all. So what do you recommend? I mean, are we talking about social media for the sake solely of enticing newcomers, or social media for current members, or what?
I would say that if you have a club that is not interested, that the members are not interested in being on social media per se, then I would still have a presence on Facebook with contact information, so that if somebody is looking for that local, a club in that local area, they can still find you. But you don't have to keep it up as much. And you don't have to use it as a communications platform for your members. If the members don't want to be communicated to that way, if they want it in email or on paper, fine. It's more about social media is more about talking to the rest of the world. than it is about talking to ourselves. So if you're able to just get it up there, flat page, maybe go up once a month and change a picture, or post a meeting, whenever you're going to have a meeting, just post the meeting dates or something with a contact information for somebody in the club. At that point, I definitely say email. You don't want to put a phone number up there, but just some way that if I am going through Toledo and I want to go to a meeting, I hit Facebook and go stamp clubs in Toledo. Yours is going to show up.
Okay. Thanks.
It is hard. I mean, it is hard when you don't have somebody in the club who's interested in doing this.
Yeah. I mean, we have a Facebook page. It just gets almost no use. And
Yeah.
the 4 administrators we have had have all either declined to do it again or are no longer part of the club, whatever. And we asked for volunteers, nobody stepped up. So, you've got to have monitoring just to keep the spam off.
I still have this mad dream of finding a way to turn this into a business and turning, internet and things like that for clubs, but I can't figure out a way to make it actually make any money. So,
Well, if you come up with an idea,
I'll let you know.
all right, thank you.
There was a comment that I thought was a really good one, so I want to make sure we put it out there regarding club emails, because you commented about how you emailed people that it was no longer a valid email address or whatever. Yep. Have a specific email that's your club email address. Do not use personal email addresses. That way you can just trade off to the next person that's monitoring it, and you don't have to make sure that you've kept updating on all the sites where you have your email posted. So I thought that was a very good point.
It is. We use information at the gbps.com because we bought the domain. But what was happening was not only just personal emails, but people were not passing on the password.
Oh, yes.
So they weren't able to get, the next person in the chain wasn't able to get into the email. So it was just kind of sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Paul asked a question. Any hints on how to have your club found on the chat, GPT, etc.? The SEOs of generative AI, if you will. This is rapidly becoming the way people find things.
No, but thank you for bringing that up, because now I'm going to find out. I haven't actually personally used ChatGPT to search for things, but that is actually a very, very good point. My guess is, I mean, ChatGPT is open form. My guess is that you have to be searched for in order to be searched for. So if you search for the club, the yourself, then the AI will learn that club is associated with that, and then the next time somebody searches, it'll just keep going. But you just got to start the ball rolling. But let me find that out for sure. I don't know the answer. If somebody wants to pop me an email, I'll take a look and send you an email.
Okay. The next one is from Lewis. What are the demographics of the Greater Boston Philatelic Society? We have several octogenarians and 3 nonagerians in ours.
Not quite that old, but I am the youngest, probably by 20 years. And I'm 56. So it's definitely an older community, although we do have 3 new members. Actually, I'm not the oldest by that much anymore. We have 3 new members. One of them's in his late 50s and the other one is in the 40s. And then we have one person in their 30s. So we are actually getting some younger people in. But these are all people who were in the immediate area. And it's just we're not getting a lot of people who weren't interested in the hobby to begin with. We've only had one person who this is their first kind of throw at collecting.
Jennifer, there are a couple of hands raised that have been raised for a long time.
Yep, I see Marion. Go ahead, Marion. You can unmute and ask Todd your question.
Well, I just wanted to say one of the things that we do in the winter months, being that we are up north, is we move some of our meetings to Saturday afternoons. So then we're not dealing with snow and darkness so much. We've also been doing monthly Zoom meetings, which started during COVID, which was awesome. I think it really helped the club hang together. You know, I was worried what was going to happen. And throughout that, our club and a few other clubs over a fairly wide area started doing online Zoom auctions, which has been really great because there's no restrictions. It doesn't matter what club you're from. And you can bid, you can put stuff on the auction. And we had Capex 22, and I know Don was there. And when we walked into Capex 22, it was great because we were going, oh, hello, to people that we never actually met face to face before. So it's been really a good thing. Anyway.
Marion, how are
a
you
thought.
doing the auction? How are you doing the auction?
Well, actually, Judy is here tonight. She's our sort of our secretary for our auction. But can you tell us, Judy, who's the name of the person that actually sets up that site? There's somebody, I believe he is an American, and he's been doing this for free for a number of clubs. So he set up the whole format, and then it gets taken down after the auction so that people can start putting new stuff in. But Judy, are you out there? She was here, but I could send
Yeah,
information.
I was muted.
to you.
I'm
There
here.
she is. There she is.
Yeah, so people, there's two options. There's the viewing of what's there, and then there's the a link to post stamps on the auction site. And it's a form that's set up, and you just fill that out, put it on. And then I do a page like this. I do a sheet that I email out to everybody if they want a record of what who the seller is, what the asking price is, and a little bit of a description. And then we have an auctioneer who runs the auction, much as Jennifer's running this meeting, Zoom meeting. Jennifer and Don running it. So he usually it's a he, Bill, goes through lot by lot, and then I record and send out the results. Then each seller contacts the buyer because they have that, and because I send out a contact list as well, and they then handle the payment and exchanging the material themselves.
So you're not handling the payment at all?
No, we don't touch the money at all. No.
I think somebody posted up there, Don Denman. That's the name.
Yes, Don Denman. Thank you.
Don Denman. And I know he's from the States somewhere, right, Judy?
Yes, Bob. I don't know if Bob Bidner would know if he's on here.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
Yep, we can hear
I'm
you.
on my phone.
Okay.
Oh, there's Bob.
If you go to
Stampsmarter.com.
stamporama.com,
Yeah.
51
Haven't been there.
Studebaker is his ID. Don's on there. You can look him up in the membership directory as well. He provides the auction software for free. He'll set your club up for you. There's a standard set of rules you can add if you want. He'll give you the page, you fill it out, he'll put it up for you. There's a person who'll have an access to the site. The person with the access to the auctioneer site that he gives you can delete the lots. We run it every 2 weeks. Owen Sound runs it monthly. North York runs it monthly. North Toronto runs it monthly. So he sets you up, you have your own site, your own guy manages it. And then you just let people, you give them a link and they can upload in lots, gives you another link and use that link to view the catalog.
Yep.
Now, you see, that is genius. I mean, we've actually been talking about that within the club because we want to do an auction, but a lot of, we're like, well, a lot of times there's not enough of us in person. There's like 2 people in the building and then everybody else is remote. but we also, that would allow us to actually hit like Waltham and Boxborough and a few of the other clubs in the
Yes.
area and actually generate enough buzz. That's a brilliant idea.
We have people on our auction. What we do is we generate an Excel spreadsheet. We ask people if they want to participate in the auctions. They have to give us their email address, telephone address, and mailing address.
Yes.
Before or at the end of each auction, everyone in the mailing list for the auction gets a copy of what's sold, what the sold price is, and the
Yep.
contact list. All the money exchanges hands is external to us, so we ask the buyers and sellers to contact each other, so we have there's no fees. Our auction list, actually, we have people as far away. In Canada, we have people in British Columbia, which is on the West Coast, and in Nova Scotia on the East Coast,
Yeah.
and in 8 provinces across Canada involved in every auction. Anyone
Now, I
who's
know-
on Stamporama who buys and sells and lives in Canada, we invite them so we don't have exchanges.
Now, I know my people are going to ask me this. So does the hosting club take a cut of the sales, or is it just?
No.
Everything is free. Everybody lists
Nope.
for free. There's no sale.
I like
cost.
that. I like that personally. So that's,
Yeah.
Your only expense is to host, is the Zoom hosting. And Don doesn't charge you anything. Normally, when we talk to the various clubs we've signed up, we all send Don a few dollars to help pay his costs because he hosts a website with lots of stuff on it.
I'm going to check that out. I appreciate that. I think that is a genius idea, and I'm going to steal it.
Good. Good.
If you want, you can send me an email. I can invite you to one of our auctions. You can see how it runs, and we can send you an invitation, and you can see how we set stuff up and what it looks like.
That'd be
Same
great,
with
Bob.
us.
Bob, if you want to go to the GBPS, Greater
I'll give you
Boston
my email
Philatelic.
address. It's Bob,
Okay.
B-O-B.
I didn't want to do it up in front of
I
200
don't
people. Go
care.
ahead.
Everyone's got it.
Yeah.
Bob?
It's BOBBIDNER
Yep.
at gmail.com.
Got it. I will send
If
you
any
an
other
email.
clubs that are online want to use it or want similar information, the invitation's open to you all.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you. There was someone else that had their hand up, but it's gone now. Was there someone else that had a question? Otherwise, I'll keep going with what's in the chat.
Yeah, they left the meeting.
Okay. All righty.
I had my hand up, but I could be at the end. Jennifer.
Jennifer, there's someone from the San Jose Stamp Club who wants to speak.
Okay, I
Yeah.
guess I can't see
Hi,
the hand.
this is
It's
Brian.
hard to see the
San
hands
Jose.
of 4 pages.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. What we do in San Jose that's been reasonably successful for us is we host a show, a stamp show every year. It just had it in November. And what we do when we see someone, I'm sitting there at the registration table and I see somebody signing in with an address in San Jose, and oh, hey, where are you from? And engage them. And what do you collect? Engage them in conversation. We have found that just statically putting out postcards at other shows and or even having a table there where we put out flyers and things, the static didn't work. But when I talk to somebody about, oh, hey, why don't you just come check out a meeting? And what do you just engage that person in one-on-one conversation. We've gotten pretty good results with that. We follow that up at our show by hosting what we call a hospitality table, where there's coffee, donut holes, water, some snacks and things, all for free. We put out a box for donations, which actually more than pays for the donut holes and bottled water and coffee. And it's just a matter of the person who hosts that table saying, oh yeah, hey, come over and get you a cup of coffee. Where are you from? And what do you collect? And that conversation, then you engage somebody in conversation and maybe slip them a card about, hey, come to our next meeting. And that works very well for us. Just statically putting out the cards. We did that for years. We got 0. Now that we gauge people in conversation and invite them, we've gotten 6 or 8 new members out of that engaging conversation kind of thing. Nothing, no high pressure, no arm twisting,
Yep.
just quietly asking them to come check out a meeting after you've chatted with them for a few minutes about, what they collect and whatnot. It's worked very well for us.
I completely agree. I did a meeting. I did 2 meetings in the local area where they actually donated us a table, and I put up our little banner, and I sat at that table all day for 3 days. And I talked to people all day for 3 days. I mean, it was amazing. People would just come up and go, "Hey, what's this about? What are you guys about? What are you doing?" And you have these conversations and you can gauge one-on-one. You're 100% correct. The only, I don't want to call it a downside, but the only problem with that is we're still just talking to ourselves. We're not talking to people who don't know that stamp show exists.
That is true. We try to follow up with an online presence, but it's pretty weak. I have a hard time keeping up a dynamic online presence, but people do find us there. We do find new members there and get donations of people that want to just get rid of a donate. Grandpa died and the collection's just,
I get 2 of those a week.
Program. As I mentioned, we do stamp merit badge class, so they enjoy donating it for programs like that.
Just before I forget, I got to say hi to Digi. Hi, Digi.
Jim had his hand up.
You're still on mute, Jim.
There we go. Hi. I'm from the Midwest Philatelic Society in the Greater Kansas City, Missouri area. And we went to Zoom during COVID, but it's kind of dropped off to the point that the powers that be decided to suspend our Zoom account because we've gotten really back to the level we were before. We usually have 30 to 35 members present at any meeting. But I think part of that is something you all are talking about. We do an auction every meeting each month at club, and this club's been doing it for decades. And that seems, and we don't charge anything. It's just dollar minimum. Anybody can put something in. But I'm intrigued by the online auction, but I'm also, I'm trying to determine, do you have many Zoom? What's your ratio between members present and Zoom?
Depending on the month and people's lives, we can have anywhere from 2 people on Zoom out of a 15-person meeting, or there's been a couple months where I've showed up in the meeting site and I was the only one there, and then everybody else was remote. It really depends on what's going on in people's lives. In the summer, we tend to get more people coming in. They'll come into the meeting. It starts getting a little colder, then it gets a little darker earlier. People tend to join from home. I've had people join meetings from their vacations. They had nothing to do for an hour, and they just hop on their phone or on the computer for an hour and sit in on the meeting. But yeah, it's a pretty big spread. And one of the things I liked about it was that we've had people join from California, India, Connecticut, and there was someplace else that was pretty far away. But we've had people that either I've met or other members have met at a show or whatever, and they'll hop in for a meeting because they like the presentation that's going to be being done. Or we'll have a guest come in long distance and do a presentation that's not even a club member, but they'll still present on something because they can actually just join remotely without having to schlep to Medford.
Well, what we're experiencing, as I'm sure all clubs are, and was mentioned, most of us either don't have the expertise to do all the social media and all that. And I think that's why the current president convinced the board, let's quit doing Zoom, because he couldn't figure out how to run it.
I'll do it.
And so I don't know how you overcome those challenges when you don't have the more youthful technological younger person that knows how to do those things.
So here's a thought. And I'd actually like to see what people think about this. I saw somebody actually put a question about, could the APS put something on their page for stamp club ideas that worked? I've actually been talking with Scott about this for about a year. What if we could put a resource somewhere accessible? Don't know where yet, where people in clubs around the country or around the world who are more tech savvy and are willing to help could actually put up their contact information, where other clubs could reach out and maybe get a little assist once in a while when they need it. Does that seem like a decent idea?
It's a possibility.
I mean, I'm not exactly sure how it would work yet. I need to chew on that a little bit, but I mean, I know I've offered to help clubs who needed help with this because, I mean, it doesn't take me that much time, and, I want to see the hobby continue. So I'm willing to kick in, but I'm not the only one. There are other people who have a little bit of tech skill who, standing up a website or, editing a Facebook page once in a while wouldn't be a huge lift on their life. So,
well, I think the other problem that I think most clubs, when I talk, like up in Cleveland this last summer, we just had officer elections, and you would think you could find 4 people to fill the major slots out of 50 some members and 30 to 35 that attend. But no, because we're mostly introverts. We don't want to belong, and we don't want, you're lucky you get them to a meeting, but they like either the program or the show and tell or the auction, and so they show up for something.
Yep.
But to get them to help run the club is almost impossible. It's the same people the last 15 years that revolve around the same offices. But as people die out,
unfortunately, I think that's a standard thing that you hear often. 20% of people do 80% of the work. So
it's something I'm going to chew on that a little bit more, because I think that and somebody else asked why the APS can't serve as a technical consultant. They haven't got the in-house talent to do it currently, and they can't afford it. They can't afford to hire the in-house talent to do something like that. And I don't think it's in their budget right now. I've been poking at Scott about this because, I think that, my idea was always, okay, we pay, what is it, $30 a year for APS membership? So make it 50 and you run the tech. You provide the website, you provide the Zoom account, and I'll pay you $50 a year instead.
Interesting thought.
Yeah.
Felix?
If I could just convince him.
Yeah. One thing we might want to consider is just on Tuesday, the APS had a stamp chat talking about their new digital initiative to introduce an online digital magazine that's supposed to be focused on encouraging a new generation of collectors that are connected. And so that's very much consistent with their new initiative. Anybody else here was in on that call just 2 days ago, that they're going to be announcing it or releasing it in February. And the idea is to kind of break stamp collecting, particularly attracting new collectors into the 21st century. Because I'm sorry, but too many of our leaders in the philatelic community are 19th century people. That's not the way because I hear it in my own club. That's not the way Grandpa taught me to do it.
Can we pause a moment and let Felix have a chance to ask his question?
Yes.
Of course.
I'm here from Mississippi. Right now, I'm looking like Stamper Claus, and I'm here to not check to use if you're naughty or nice. But as an ATA ambassador, one thing is, it's good to do is always promote. You see my ATA banner in the back. But I'm also a webmaster, did 29 years of communications. I was the Facebook for the Army. So if one of the things I suggest to everyone here, if you have a stamp club and it's not affiliated with the ATA as a study unit chapter, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because we can provide a lot of information, especially with our latest book that talked about time that came out. You could advertise what's going on in your show. People will read it and they might join your club. So there's many things you can do. But what I'm saying is, if you've got a stamp club and you are affiliated with the ATA, I will work with you to get your website squared away. I was when the APS created the website promotion and who won the award, I created one for Puerto Rico. Not only were we the gold champion, we were the grand gold champion, creating a website in GoDaddy. I can show you how to use Gmail and connect the club, but everybody have access to it. I can show a lot of things how to do a website, and I can share that, and how from your website, instead of managing Facebook, send your Facebook stuff on your website straight to your Facebook account and Instagram. Just one post, it shares all that. So a lot of things you do. But the thing is the wave of the future. I know we have platforms, and the best auction right now that does auctions is the American First Day Cover Society. I like the program they do, how they do their auctions. The American First Day Cover has a great program when it comes to auctions. So I recommend join one of the big threes or belong to all big three. But the ATA is the future. It has a lot of people that will help, and I'm willing to help any society with Zoom, anything else, and I also promote through emails. So that's my 2 cents there, and I'll be sending my email here in a second.
See, that's what I mean. There are people out there who are willing to help. We just need to find a way to connect everybody.
So thanks, Felix. That's a very nice offer. So appreciate that. All right, Foster, you had
life.
What I wanted to suggest is something I was involved in recently. That's recruiting in non-traditional areas. I'm a member of ESPER, the African American on Stamps organization, who is associated both the APCS and the ATA. And we were able to get a table at the Blacks in Government conference. In 4 days, we recruited 23 new members, probably 22 of which had never heard the word philately. I don't think we used it, other than that 23rd person when somebody actually mentioned it. So there's lots of worlds out there where people are interested, and we need to reach out to those as well. On Zoom, I want to echo what everyone said. I've hosted a lot of Zoom meetings. First person I've had at one of my first day cover Zooms was from Saipan in the Pacific Ocean. Can't do that in person.
Nope.
I think my record for a local first day cover meeting is we had 10 states and one person from Canada.
great. Thank you, Foster. Ligia, how do you say? Sorry, how do you say it? You're next.
Yes, Ligia.
Ligia.
Our club is the Simi Valley Stamp and Coin Club. It's a hybrid club in Simi Valley. And we meet in the heart of Simi Valley. It's a very nice and very friendly group. We have no fees. The only thing that I think is we have a website that we manage. We meet twice a month, and we have live auctions at every meeting, and also we have the online auction. The online auction it's just fantastic. We do the online auction from the donations that people give to the club, and it has been a very wonderful financially for the club, because it has given us, some revenue, since we don't, to cover for the basic expenses, of course, it's not like we're making a lot of money, but at least it covers for, with the luxury of not having fees, and also cover for the Christmas party and things like that, just to have fun. To have fun.
I love that idea.
And our motto is really to motivate people, especially the youth, and the younger generation for stamp collecting. But since our club is a hybrid club, you know, stamps and coins, the social presence, I feel like some members feel threatened by the presence. I don't know, maybe it's because you know, we may feel that we're gonna be followed up and be targeted for you know, robbery or something. I have the feeling that that is the common you know, the common thought of our members. Our web presence is it's a website that we manage. I want to encourage people to, you know, to give articles to the website, so it would be more you know, it would have a lot of information. It would be very informative and educational. But since it is you know, basically a very social group, people we just want to go to the meetings and have fun, you know. And from then everybody goes home, and and that's about it.
Well, that's the whole point, right? To have fun.
Yeah,
That's
that's the point.
Yes, and when it came to COVID, on March of 2020, that was the only month we didn't have a meeting, because then soon after we started doing the Zoom meetings. We didn't know anything about the technology, about Zoom, but we started, you know, we started adventuring into the Zoom meetings, and we got an account. So it was a lot of fun, you know, to continue being with the club through Zoom meetings. We haven't been able to do Zoom and live at the same time. It seems like it's more we haven't gotten to the logistics of it and what it takes. I think it's a little expensive to have those Zoom meetings and live meetings, and what would be the distraction? It would take away from the live meetings, you know, because we want to have also the Zoom presence. We don't know. We haven't figured it out yet. So, but
well, I think that's something that a lot of people have kind of had to play with through, you know, through this whole process. So but keep at it. Sounds like you're doing some great things there.
Excuse me, we're gonna need to wrap up here tonight. We're at about 10 after, but it's obvious that we have hit a chord here, something that people want to talk about. There are people that have their hands raised that we're not going to get to. I would like to suggest that if Todd has an evening for us in January, that we schedule session 2 of this discussion, because obviously we have enough interest right here in this group that we could go on for a long time. Todd?
I'd be happy to do that, because I'm getting good ideas from the people here, and I would love to not even do the presentation next time, just have the conversation. Do it like an intro and just have this conversation that we're having with the people in the room, because this is where the gold is. You know, there's people here with a lot of great ideas and a lot of great experiences. And I think the more people that hear it, the better off we are.
I think you can take, you know, just some of the questions that have been put in the chat and things, and you know, the things tonight, and just start with that and go. Yeah, I think that's.
I was gonna. Can you do you know how to export the chat out of here?
Yep.
Okay, send me the chat, because I do want to go through a lot of these questions, because not only are there some great ideas, but there's some questions in here that we need to talk about. So yeah, I'd be happy to do it in January. Not a problem.
We apologize to the people that have their hands raised that we can't get to this evening, but please come back in January. We'll schedule an evening that's good for Todd, and let's keep talking, folks. This is fabulous.
This is great.
Thank you so much for coming and for your wonderful ideas and comments and questions. And we will just keep it going in January.